everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And Dan, well, I guess coming up on the show, let's just do it real quick. We're going to be talking about cutesy cults.
We're still doing a show.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about the fun little religions that we all love to love.
Love to love and probably
And-
should hate.
And probably should be a little bit careful about just dismissing any little religions, but maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
But
Before we get
Dan,
to that,
oh my God.
you guys,
Look at your player, guys. Look at what episode this is.
we've done 500 of these fuckers.
Jesus
Holy
Christ.
shit.
How did that happen?
Oh my God, we just kept doing it for a really long time.
Tenacity. That's what did it.
Yeah, stick-to-itiveness, if you will. We
Two-
literally like
two qualities I don't know that either of us have in spades. So
No,
which makes
no,
it
no,
even
no.
like all the more a minor miracle.
It's
Like I'm just gonna say there's a saint that's gonna come out of this thing somewhere.
Yeah,
Like
it is amazing. It's literally one of those things where I don't think it was stick-to-itiveness. I think it was just like neither of us ever saw a reason to stop, so we just kind of just bumbled our way along, and now we're here.
How could we stop?
We can't. We love our listeners too much. That's the thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
So there you go, everybody. We've done 500 of these bastards, and so we're halfway there, Frank. We're halfway
Halfway to 1,000
to
is
when
that what
we
we're
can
doing?
when we're allowed to stop.
But the question is, will we do 999 or
And then just-
will we do 1,000? Like, will we just leave? Will it be a cliffhanger with no resolution?
Oh my God! If we're still doing this when we're 55, that would be. I can't imagine that happening.
Well, I couldn't imagine us getting through the first year.
No.
Right?
Literally. Okay, you guys, we're gonna wax a little nostalgic here, and you're just gonna bear with us because we've done 500 shows, and we're just. Here's the thing. About a year into this show, we were like, wow, we've been doing this show for a whole fucking year. We got to shake things up. And that was when we did our road trip through the South together.
I don't even know what we were thinking.
We thought
it was great.
A year,
We
we
had a
thought
great
a year
time.
was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like we had basically made it once we had hit a year. And
Well,
we were,
and we everywhere we wanted to go, there were listeners who wanted to come meet us, right? Which was really cool. And like in
awesome.
Houston, like the Atheists of Houston threw us a little thing and
yeah.
whatever. Although maybe they
I
more
still
invited
have-
us to their thing and kind of just, made us feel special. But
it was
but it was really
great.
cool. It was awesome.
And I still have a T-shirt that was given to me by the Birmingham, Alabama Freethinkers group.
I wore mine out.
Yeah,
That thing fell apart. I wore it so much.
It's just, you guys, I treasure it. I treasure these moments. I treasure all of the friendships that we've made and the people that we've met along the way. And okay, Frank,
What?
we're going back out on the road. I'm just announcing it right now, having not checked in with you. You and I are going to hit the road this year.
A lot harder for me than it is for you, Dan. And this year it can't happen.
This next year.
Next year sometime.
Next year,
When I can plan
sometime.
on it. Because right now all my vacation time is spoken for.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
came out of COVID and it was like, okay, what are we doing with this?
Yeah, that's right. It's true. But
So
my point is,
apologies if you've
and-
gotten to me sooner, Dan. Because
and
it's
we
an excellent
haven't-
idea.
we'll figure out ways. But also, we're gonna look. We're not throwing a party for our 500th episode. Excuse me, our 500th episode. We're not throwing a party, but I think come November, which will be our proper 10-year anniversary,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a party. So get it on your calendars. Anyone who feels like they can meet up probably here in Salt Lake.
There's this little thing called a global pandemic.
Not in November.
Yeah,
it's going to be totally done by then.
Okay? All right.
All I'm saying is
that it could be another bad fall and winter. Because we don't have enough people vaccinated in this damn variant.
I mean, all I'm saying is that barring the Omega variant that's going to kill us all, we're gonna try. I'm saying just mark your calendars. Keep November kind of open. We want to meet more of you. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I guess we should do a show. It's what we do.
There's a show coming up.
We've got a whole show. I mean, this whole thing is we're talking about shows. We do shows. So let's do a show.
Let's do it. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't even know how to set this one up. I'm just going to read the headline. It's one of those, right? Where it's just like, all right.
You're just going to steal somebody else's work. I get it. Let's rock and roll.
All right. Basically, the gist of this whole thing is that mannequins in a northern Nigerian state have been banned from display shops for causing, quote, immoral thoughts.
Oh my God.
Like,
I'm going to guess these aren't male mannequins.
Those probably weren't the ones that you're probably right, but all mannequins are banned.
Wow.
As of this is an equal opportunity banning. They are saying that also they mimic human form, and that is banned because it violates Islamic teachings.
It does. That is true.
Yeah.
It does. No images.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. Although, so ban it from your mosque. Don't just ban it.
Nope. Tailors, supermarkets, boutiques, shopping malls are now all going to have to be mannequin free. Supermarkets was in the list. That's
how many supermarkets
are a little different.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. If you go to Smith's Marketplace, there's mannequins. But anyway, it's obviously due to Sharia law that is in effect in this part of Nigeria. There are actually 12 Nigerian states that practice Sharia law, and so I guess you could come to expect this kind of thing. But yeah, the perviness of believers never ceases to amaze me.
Just resolve your sexual hang-ups, dudes. My dudes. Oh shit! I'm using dudes. Here's the thing. People may notice that I said "Hey friends" instead of "Hey guys" this morning at the top of the show. I'm really trying to I listened to a podcast. They were talking about the words "dudes" and "guys" and how we like to say that they are universalized, but a lot of people don't see it that way. And so I'm trying to be more inclusive with my language. So I'm trying. So catch me out, y'all. If I'm using "dudes" and "guys" to mean, because their argument is it's never a female word that is then universalized, that is then meant to be for everybody. It's never like
bitches.
Hey, my ladies, and that's for everybody.
Hey, bitches.
I mean, you could probably pull that off. Not
except
by which I mean a gay man.
The first two times I've said that word in a very long time because I really dislike that word. But
yeah, me too. So anyway, I'm trying to wean myself off of guys and dudes. Anyway, unless I'm referring to males.
Yeah, thank you for that.
That's my little.
What were you saying about my story?
What I was saying, if I can even remember, because I'm down in tangent land now. What was your story again?
It was the mannequins,
right?
And pervies. Pervy people.
The thing. The story that this story reminds me of happened right here in Salt fucking Lake City.
Oh.
And this may have been a little before your time. I think this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. So it was before you got here.
Right.
ZCMI, which was the church-owned at the time department store.
Right.
had there was a whole big kerfuffle because the female mannequins had nipples.
Oh no.
And they literally filed them all off. There was enough uproar that they went through. Somebody's job was to literally like sand off the nipples of the mannequins at ZCMI.
Did they leave the boobs?
They left the boobs. The boobs, they thought, you know,
less offensive.
Women have boobs, but they
also have nipples.
No, we're I mean, not Mormon ladies have to wear garments and bras. There's no way you're seeing a nipple. You're not gonna see nip through clothes. So they wanted
to make that clear.
The mannequins to conform to Mormon reality.
These clothes are not for women who like to show off nipples.
They're not for women with nipples.
Right. Yes.
If you have nipples, please go to a different store, whore.
And if you have nipples, maybe you should sand them off. Please follow our example.
Follow the prophet and sand off your nips. Oh my God. All right. Well, I'm going to move. I'm going to tell a story. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Kamloops Indian Residential School in British Columbia, which had which they uncovered 215 dead children's remains in their yard there, just unmarked graves. And then what we didn't cover was that like a week later, they went to another one of these schools, these Indian residential schools, and found the remains of 750 people. And they don't have records for any of this, so they don't know how these people died, and they don't know. And a bunch of them were children, but they don't know how many. And so,
good Lord.
But this is an ongoing project that they're doing. So we're going to hear about more and more of these as they go on, because they just take their equipment out and they just, X-ray or I don't
point
know.
It's probably any which direction, apparently.
Yeah, they just take it to one of the schools and just go, boop, oh, there's some dead people. Anyway, well, there was a priest in Canada, Monsignor Owen Keenan, a good Catholic priest, who gave a sermon just last week, and said, and was basically, he had a gripe, which was, probably these killings of children were bad, but why aren't people thanking the church also for all of the nice things that they did in those schools?
Why are people not thinking? Oh my God.
I'll just read the quote. I'll read the quote. 2/3 of the country is blaming the church, which we love, for the tragedies that occurred there. Why? I presume the same number would thank the church for the good done in those schools, but of course, that question was never asked, and we're not allowed to even say that good was done there. I await to see what comes to my inbox.
Oh, wow.
Let me tell you something. Don't end any statement with that. Because it came.
So
the hammer came down fast and hard. Yeah.
But he's defending the good that was done at schools that were established with the sole goal of erasing native cultures.
Yeah. Literally,
that's the goal, right?
Literally, he was doing
what good is happening here?
Frank, nobody talks about how Mussolini got the trains running well.
I knew a couple of Italians that...
Nobody talks about the good things that the Nazis did. Why don't they ever talk about that? That's where we're at. We are in that territory.
Yeah,
literally that territory. Like, this is not one of those cases where going to the Nazis is a hyperbole thing.
Yeah.
Where going to the Nazis is a Godwin's Law thing.
I mean, but Mussolini did get the trains to run on time.
He did. He did. That's true.
It was a real accomplishment. If you've ever taken public transit in Italy today, you know what kind of miracle that had to be.
Yeah. But the trade-off is one that you don't make. That's the point. The point is
you have to take all of the rest of it to have that one thing.
Right. Yeah. The point is, it doesn't matter. You know what? if the Nazis made life wonderful for every other German, just idyllic, it doesn't fucking matter. You don't give them credit.
Right.
When you failed the part where you recognize the humanity of your fellow people and you murder them and you genocide them.
Yeah.
No, you get no credit. Nobody, basically, So anyway, this priest did see some consequences. He has been fired.
Oh no! First, his inbox.
Yeah,
his email inbox was destroyed.
Yeah,
blown to smithereens. I'm sure.
Yeah, the archdiocese. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure
it overheated from the amount of activity.
I'm sure he has deleted that inbox. He know that. I'm sure he quit just so that he could have never go back to that email inbox.
Didn't have to
ever
go through
again.
them all and see which one. I mean, because you're gonna miss an important email somewhere in there, right? You're gonna have to go through all of them to find that bill. That you didn't put on auto pay for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So he did apologize, which feels a little weird to jump from confidently knowing that he's going to be in trouble, and yet still confidently saying, why can't we, blah, blah, blah. He literally said, I am deeply sorry, embarrassed, ashamed and shocked at the revelations of abuse, not at what I did, at the revelations of abuse, destruction and harm done in the residential schools. I in no way condone the system. And as a Catholic priest, I wish I could say I'm sorry to everyone who suffered harm. You can say you're sorry about the bullshit that you said. How about that? Yeah. You don't have to say, I'm sorry for everything that the Catholic Church did. You can say, I'm sorry for the complete asshole thing that came out of my face. How about that? What about that?
Oh, anyway. Indeed. All right. Dan.
Yeah.
We've basically treated COVID-19 as a religious topic. Because normally we don't talk about things that are not, but
yeah,
but
the problem is that everyone that is on the wrong side of the COVID-19 thing is being led by some religious nut job or other.
Exactly. Which is why I think that updates about COVID are fair game for the show.
Sure.
And this one has to do with the state of Missouri, which has had a very, very low vaccination rate. As states go, they're low on the list. They have one county that is just at 13% vaccination rate.
Oh my goodness!
And most counties are well short of 40%. Nationwide, we're 53%.
Still not enough. Not even close.
Not enough. When did this article come out? It doesn't really say, but I heard a slightly higher number than that on the radio today, but I'll go with what this article's saying. And that's 53% that have received at least one shot. I do think that number is a little bit higher than that, but again, I might be wrong. But so they're looking at Missouri right now as essentially almost a test case for what's going to happen more widely in this country, because they're experiencing a dramatic uptick in their case numbers.
Shocking.
And it's, of course, all being fueled by the Delta variant, which that's the one that caused wreaked all that havoc in India.
Yeah.
After it was already a mess in India, then there was a mutation. It got even worse. But their public health officials are staring down the fact that their intensive care beds are filling up, and with young people, unvaccinated people, who have just been I don't know why you wouldn't get vaccinated at this point, but they're just whatever.
Well, because they're fucking conspiracy theories everywhere, and their pastor is telling them to trust in Jesus instead of science.
Yeah.
And they think Bill Gates is putting microchips in them and making them magnetic.
Yeah. And so already their hospital staff are getting burned out. And like I said, their ICU beds are filling up. And there's a real strain going on. But healthcare officials in Missouri are trying to put a positive spin on it.
That sounds good. That sounds smart.
If this is one official who says, if people elsewhere in the country are looking at us and go, no thanks, and they start getting vaccinated, that is good.
Oh my God.
This
that person has entirely given up on his own state. And it's just like, you guys just see us as what not to do at this point. Well, you just gotta watch what we do and do the opposite, whatever that is.
He continues. He says, we will be the canary.
Oh my God. That is the voice of utter resignation. That is terrifying. Look, our state's not doing much better.
No, ours are ticking up. There's a number of states that are starting to rapidly go up. But just swinging back to Missouri, the areas that are obviously, it's not surprising that it's largely in the most conservative parts of the state that are seeing this. It's farming regions in the northern part of the state and in the southwestern corner, which includes Springfield and Branson. And if Branson doesn't mean anything to you, that's the country music mecca in the Ozarks, where big crowds are already gathering again at the theaters and other attractions. I mean, if you're a big name, especially kind of older in sort of the country music scene, you probably have a theater there and you just do nightly shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's also, Dan, I'm pretty sure this is true. I forgot to double check it, but I'm pretty sure it's where Jim Baker films his little show.
Oh.
So, because of course, when people come to town, he wants to capitalize on the Christians who are there and brings them around and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so lots of crowds, lots of conservative Christian types, milling about unmasked in a hotbed of the Delta variant.
I'm telling you, man,
it's going to get ugly.
This thing is nasty. Yeah. This thing is way more communicable and also seems to be a worse sickness. Like the illness is worse.
It seems to be a little bit worse. Yeah.
If you haven't met a long hauler yet who is experiencing long-term, very real problems from getting COVID, just understand that that's there. If right now I'm just trying to talk to, I know that we have listeners who haven't gotten the vaccine yet. You use the existence of this Delta variant as your motivator, because
please
you need, it's not just to protect yourself, it's to protect everyone around you that you know and love, because it is, and people that you don't know, but it is absolutely vital that everyone gets the vaccine. Absolutely vital. So
I know.
So don't not do it. Don't be a dick. Anyway, all right. Well, speaking of dicks, I'm going to move on. We aren't using his audio as a patty break, but I want to talk about Pat Robertson because Pat answered a question that has been milling about for me in a way that I hadn't had it answered yet. And I really appreciate it. It doesn't make him look very good, unfortunately. Pat's our guy who, it's like 9 out of every 10 things we hear him say are horrific. And then there's that one that's just like, wait, what? That makes sense and is smart and whatever. Anyway, this is not one of those. This is one of the 9.
Okay. All right.
He's talking about critical race theory.
Oh, boy.
Which is a hot topic of now, which is hilarious because it's been around since like the 70s. But now suddenly people have caught on to it, and those conservatives hate it. And, you know, to the point where many state legislatures, including our own, have attempted to ban it from being taught in schools because it's so abhorrent to them. Now, for those who don't actually know or who haven't bothered to look it up, the main concepts around critical race theory are basically just that most of the racism in our country and in society in general isn't like this overt, obvious thing. It is institutionalized, it is systemic, and therefore it is a lot more pernicious and more difficult to take away than just passing laws that say, you know, you can't discriminate, because it's baked into the pie. It's already part of it. We have to dismantle the pie to get out the racism. Right. And that's backed up by so much data. And it's just a theory. It is a different way of looking at our history and our institutions. It's just one way of looking at it. There's nothing that anyone should be afraid of in that. It's just, I mean, it reveals an ugly picture, for sure, but it's a true picture, and we should be interested in the truth. So that's what critical race theory is. But I don't listen to not Rush Limbaugh. He's dead. Ha ha. That's so good. God. But I don't listen to the conservative talking heads and how they're framing critical race theory. And so I never knew what they were actually complaining about. Well, here's Pat Robertson, who basically laid it out for us. What is it? Patty Boy says that the people of color have been oppressed by the white people, and that white people begin to be racist by the time they're 2 or 3 months old, and that therefore the people of color have to rise up and overtake their oppressors, and then, having gotten the whip handle, if I can use that term, no, Pat, you absolutely cannot, then to instruct their white neighbors how to behave. Oh, wow. Now that's critical race theory. That's what he thinks it is. I believe that he thinks that. And he calls it a monstrous evil.
Good Lord.
Here's the thing. If you dig down really in his psyche to why he thinks this is a monstrous evil, the real story is that he just thinks that what it's about, at the heart of it, he thinks that what it's about is people of color having the levers of power, just being in charge.
I've heard conservatives basically saying that
what's funny about that is
people taking power away from white people, taking over.
And what's funny about that is he's not thinking about the fact that, like, him saying that people of color taking the power, taking the reins, and white people like sitting it out, not having power. What he's describing, the thing that he is most afraid of, is the loss of his white supremacy. He is literally, the monstrous evil that he's afraid of is that white supremacy will go away. Because, listen, I'm on board. You know what I mean? Let's give the reins of power over. Let's have people of color there. Let's have women in power. Let's have LGBTQ. Let's have all of the marginalized groups that have had to just live with the white male power structure. Let's give them a turn, you know? If you're scared of that, it's because you know that you have been unfairly benefiting. If you're afraid of that transition of power, it's because you know that you will lose out on the unfair benefits that you have been getting, whether you admit it or not.
And just to be clear, because, you know, just to be clear,
Yeah.
nobody's asking for that.
No.
Right. But what you're saying is, if just the thought of it makes you uncomfortable,
Right.
then that's a good little test.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a thought experiment, and you failed. You failed the thought experiment. You're a racist.
Oh, damn.
So there you go. It's so fun. Did you ever see the meme that went around, or somebody did a tweet or something that was just an explanation of critical race theory, which is that, it said, imagine a hotel where the person who built who built the hotel hated people with disabilities and built the hotel so that the people with disabilities couldn't possibly use it, couldn't possibly, stay there, and then sold that hotel to somebody else who doesn't hate people with disabilities, and now it's being run by a whole bunch of people who don't hate the disabilities, but they still are operating a system that cannot accommodate the people that they don't hate. And that's basic. And so if they want to be able to serve the people that, that the other guy hated,
Right.
they have to completely deconstruct what was built and redo it with accommodations.
I want to revise that analogy just a tiny bit, though.
Okay.
Because it's saying that the hotel was intentionally built by people who hated people with disabilities. And I think where most of the country is at this point is that it's sort of pre-ADA. It's pre-Americans with Disabilities Act. People don't... Right. Most people don't actively harbor negative, ill will toward people of other races, right?
No, that's the whole point of the story. The point of the story is that...
So what I'm saying is that the hotel was built without any regard for the homeless, or not for the homeless, but for the disabled people, right? And so, it was just pre-ramps, pre-wide doorways, accessible anything and everything, right?
Yeah,
and so,
I hear what you're saying.
So I think that but that makes it more sort of insidious, right? In a way that it was just done with disregard, right?
But I hear what you're saying, but in terms of race relations in the United States of America, no, it was done with utter malice. Like the institutions were built with malice in mind.
I guess that's probably true. Because redlining was obviously a malicious act.
Even from the very beginning of our country,
practices it right. Yeah. No, that's probably true.
It was done with hatred in mind, and now, so the point is, you don't have to be hateful, but you're participating in hateful system. The system is already hateful, and so we need more than just to change a few laws to break down a hateful system. So anyway. That's all critical race theory is, and Pat Robertson is a lunatic who is still alive. So there you go.
Somehow. Yeah. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Got another COVID story. But this one has a direct religious tie-in. A Mississippi-based U.S. Air Force fighter pilot, has had his flight status and access to classified information suspended last month after he refused to wear a mask. As per the Department of Defense's COVID-19 rules and protocols and everything.
Yeah.
And he is claiming a religious exemption.
Of course he is.
Because, and this is, you want to get into people's heads. This one is just like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So the Liberty Council, right? The nonprofit, religious liberty kind of, they're like a group of lawyers, right? They kind of think of themselves as like the conservative ACLU, right? Yeah. They're not. That's what they think of themselves
they're
as.
They're a hate group. Yeah. But okay, great.
Or that's how they try to sell themselves. Anyway, they they sent a letter to the Air Force secretary explaining that, and they refer to him as John Doe, explaining Doe's religious objections to the mask orders. The underlying argument is that masks are not effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19 and instead serve a social narrative or orthodoxy not supported by science. And so they cite like Fauci's, some of those emails that were leaked, right? And this was early on. They're quoting from an email that was back in February of 2020, which you'll recall early on in the whole thing, Fauci wasn't like 100% on board with the whole country masking, right?
He just wasn't sure about it. He just didn't know.
And so in this email, one of the things that he says is the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide some slight benefit in keeping out gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. And so he kind of like the thinking hadn't shifted toward your mask isn't about protecting you, it's about protecting others, right? It's the big droplets that it's stopping coming out of you,
right, that
aren't getting to the other person. So the thinking hadn't really shifted yet, right? And that's clear. And
by the way, we now have the data to know that masks do work.
Absolutely. Masks are the silver bullet aside from, the vaccine.
Right.
As
long as everyone participates.
Exactly. But anyway, the letter continues and it says, a mask mandate may offend the conscience of an objector, forcing him to confess by act his faith in what he perceives as a false narrative.
You still haven't gotten to anything religious yet.
Right.
I'm just pointing out, we still haven't gotten to a religious belief yet.
Right. Okay. And it's coming up, Dan. It's like the next sentence. Many Christians believe that support of a false narrative is participation in a lie, which is sin.
Bullshit. That is such stupid excuse making. I can't even handle it. That is look. These guys. You shut up. Just shut up.
So in this letter, though, they include some communications that John Doe had with the military chaplain service. He says, from the beginning of this process, I have been upfront with my command about my religious beliefs. Instead of feigning compliance with mask requirements, like many of my colleagues, I chose to pursue a path of honesty with my leadership. Contrary to their assertions, my actions demonstrate a respect for command and authority rather than the cowardly path of feigned compliance.
Bullshit. Again, more bullshit. But
this is in the middle of it before anything. He's not setting something up. This is what this guy believes.
I know.
Right? And it's a bullshit belief, but this is where their minds are. Right? Yeah. And it's this whole thing of like, I'm standing up for my integrity. Right. I'm standing up for like, and it's like, wow, how did you twist it to this point? Right. When like,
it's so stupid.
I guess if you just like, don't get the science of it and you just don't trust public health officials, I mean, that's where you have to be. Then you've got to come up with some kind of justification for rejecting their suggestions and not going along with it just to keep the peace, right? Like, why wouldn't you just keep the peace? That's the thing that I've been saying this whole time. Like, why don't you just do this one simple little thing? It's just such
that literally can't hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a minor annoyance that can't hurt you. It's literally like, if this guy didn't believe that seatbelts stopped accidents, he would still wear a seatbelt. This is all this is. This is grandstanding to justify a tribal reaction. Mm-hmm. This is basically his tribe has decided that they're against it because for no reason other than as a reaction against a thing. The liberals say that science is good, and they take that to mean that the liberals think that religion is bad, which a lot of us do. And then so they think that in order to stand up for their faith, they have to just do whatever the opposite is of what the liberals say. And so they come up with whatever narrative, whatever concept they can to justify that position. It's such nonsense. It's such bullshit. It like compliance with that, with a mask mandate, hurts them not at all. They don't have to believe in it. They're not participating in a lie. They're just doing what is required of them. They're doing a thing that doesn't hurt anybody to do what's required. You know, like if they didn't like, you know, the color scheme of their uniforms, they would still wear the uniforms.
I don't know. Nonsense. Like I think what we need to do is we need to figure out how the color of their uniforms actually means 666. Like you need to attach some color, like link colors and numbers somehow in order to get them objecting about that next, right? Like, or
you know, the uniforms have different fibers, and that goes against Leviticus, and you have to.
I don't know if that would fly. It has to be.
No, because they pick and choose, and they've already chosen that one's not a big deal,
right?
even though like there's no mask problems in their book. There is a no mixed fibers in their book, but
I mean, it does. The whole thing starts with I don't want to wear a mask, and then they justified it out from there, right? Yeah. Like legit, that's all it is. Because I didn't want to wear a mask, and if I'd had some convenient excuse, well, no, I would have.
No,
but
you would have. We just would wear our masks. None of us liked it.
I did not want to wear a mask.
None of us liked it.
I hated it.
I still don't like it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Just fucking put the mask on. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to close this out with a new conspiracy because look.
What?
Conspiracies get boring after a while. We all know that Bill Gates is putting 5G in the vaccine to make us all, to make keys magnetically cling to our bodies. We know that that's a fact. It's boring now. It's old hat. We need something new about Bill Gates.
Yeah. I'm ready. What is it?
And commentator Josh Bernstein is stepping up to the plate to give us that conspiracy theory. I don't know where he got this. There might have been some news story about Bill Gates buying up some land.
Okay.
And what that has, our friend Bernstein has solved the riddle of why he's doing it. And what he's going to do. This is you heard it there first from Josh first. Bill Gates is going to end livestock production so that nobody can have meat.
He bought up all the land.
Oh, he's working on it.
He doesn't buy up a little tract somewhere, some 100,000 acres over there somewhere.
Some beautiful stretch of Iowa. No, he's going to have it all pretty soon. and he's going to make sure that there are no more cows. And then obviously that's a big deal.
To what end?
Well, you would think, here's what I thought. With the place that I thought he was going was that this is going to be some liberal forced veganism or something.
Right.
And I just thought, I thought it was going to be like an anti-environmental thing. And he does mention the environment, and he's like, the left, they say that it's all about the cows farting and that's bad for the environment. Bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But what he says, but no, the reason behind this particular nefarious plot is to make us all weak. Because if you don't have
deprived of the
don't have cows,
power of beef.
Yeah. We're all of the right. It's the source of their powers. They're Samson, like it's literally what it's the yellow sun that gives Superman his powers. That beef will and here's the other thing. The liberals have been training on this. A whole bunch of them know how to eat without meat. And so they're going to be okay, but no,
He says that?
No.
Oh, okay.
What he says is, the reason he wants, the reason that Bill Gates wants to force people to stop eating meat is to, quote, to have them be brittle and not be strong enough to overcome their tyrannical governments. It's literally that's what Bill Gates is doing, because what Bill Gates, who is not in any way a government official,
right, what
he wants is for everyone to be subject to the tyranny of the government.
Oh my God. Well,
it's pretty impressive stuff.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, if you just think about it.
If you just choose not to think about it, it all makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
So there you go. It's funny because, like you said with the COVID thing, it feels like I shouldn't be covering this because there's no mention of Jesus or religion in it, except that it is a religion.
Yeah.
Like all of this conspiracy shit it's just faith in a belief that is based on nothing.
Yeah.
It's just we need to believe a thing. We have enemies for whatever reason. Bill Gates has become one of those enemies. And so off we go.
There you have it.
There you have it. Well, if you have any cuckoo bananas theories about why Bill Gates is trying to kill all the cows, you can feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Oh, yes. Yes. Hello.
Apparently Rick Wiles is back from the dead.
Oh, he made it. He made it through his COVID. His hair is looking swell.
Yeah, in his 1960s businessman, super slick do.
It looks like a toupee.
You can see the comb marks through the comb lines.
The way that his hair looks, it looks like he's not. I don't think he is wearing a toupee, but he looks like he's wearing a toupee. It's like his stylist was like, what look would work for you? The fake hair on top look. Let's work for that. Yeah, anyway, he has some stuff. Here's the thing. So a lot of the clips that we play, we get from Right Wing Watch, which is it's exactly what their name says. They're an organization that just sort of tracks what's happening in the right wing, in the political and religious spheres, because they are the same in this country at least.
Yeah.
And they just sort of show the wackiest things that these nutballs are out there saying. And it was and also
I'd like to point out that's pretty much all I know of Right Wing Watch is just watching the clips. They just put the clips out to expose the most extreme statements, right? They don't spend a lot of time they don't edit these together with any commentary.
No.
They just pick the clips and then let you hear it, right?
And the thing is that all of these pastors hate Right Wing Watch, because of course all of their stuff gets picked up and put out into the world for the world to see, and they don't like that. So, they send it. So then you've got just sort of a phalanx of Christian right people out there flagging everything that Right Wing Watch puts onto YouTube as hate speech or whatever.
Right.
And eventually YouTube just sort of said, okay, fine, we're going to ban it. And then this uproar happened. So anyway, YouTube, so they did. They canceled their YouTube page.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody got furious with them because literally they're not doing hate speech. They're just playing other people's hate speech and pointing it out as hate speech.
Right.
So eventually YouTube was like, oh, okay, you know what? You're right. We looked at it and we've reinstated it. So delightfully, in between those two events, the canceling and the reinstatement, Rick Wiles had something to say.
I suspect that there will be layoffs very soon inside the organization because there's no platform for them to spew their lies and propaganda. So their writers, their editors, all the people that they had working to smear us and other ministries, what are they going to do? I suspect they're going to lose their jobs this week. You know, if they get saved and come to know Jesus Christ and fill the Holy Spirit, we're hiring. But they got to be saved. They have to love Jesus Christ. They have to want to see the gospel expanded. I don't want to see them out of work. But I tell you, the first thing that came to my mind today, you know, the Bible tells us not to gloat over the demise of our enemies. But Romans 12:19 sums it up very well. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. And this is a prime example in real time.
Yes.
Where we didn't fight back against Right Wing Watch. I did what the Lord said to do, bless them. Yeah, I mean, I never prayed, God, burn their building down. I just, you know, Lord, bless them, bless my enemies. I didn't fight. I didn't hire lawyers. I didn't sue. I turned it over to the Lord and said, you deal with my enemies in the way you see fit. He shut down Right Wing Watch today. Let me make this very clear today. Jesus Christ shut down Right Wing Watch.
Amen. Amen.
Not YouTube. Not YouTube. Jesus Christ shut down Right Wing Watch today. This is an example of God working through unsaved people at YouTube to carry out his vengeance against those who attack and smear his servants. And so I didn't have to lift a finger against Right Wing Watch. I think they'll disappear in the coming weeks and months. There's no purpose for them now.
That was
Jesus was not very effective.
What I love, and this was something that was pointed out on Right Wing Watch's website, is that because they've had a history with their videos being taken down on YouTube.
Totally.
Right. And YouTube's not the only platform that they're up on. Their main platform for sharing videos, like on their website or posting videos on their website and everything, is Vimeo. Right. So they post everything over on Vimeo. They clearly have something really worked out and solid at Vimeo. Vimeo knows not to take them down. They were must, right?
Right.
And so, but that clip, they posted on YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. Delightful.
And then, well, they post all their clips on YouTube as well, but that's the one that they shared on their website, was the one that they posted
also,
on YouTube.
How glorious was their not gloating?
Oh my God.
That was some professional level telling you how not gloaty he is in the middle of the gloatiest thing you can imagine.
He's such a good Christian man.
He is such a good Christian, and yeah, it's just too bad that Jesus is so fucking bad at his job.
I know.
It's Jesus, come on, you got it done, and then it just falls apart on you. What's happening?
Oh God. Well, it was a miracle for a few days, I guess.
A few days of miracle. That should be the title of somebody's memoir.
Yeah.
Well, we had some people contact us. We had some folks write into us, call into us. This is from Taylor. Taylor says, hey, Frank and Dan, I'm sure you've kind of moved on from this topic at this point, but I wanted to chime in anyway because there's something I observed during the few years I attended BYU that I feel like no one else has really talked about.
Oh, okay.
I love this. I spent a lot of time in office hours with my professors, and since they're supposed to be as, quote, spiritually enriching as possible, church topics and their own personal beliefs came up often, and I started to notice that most of them were pretty predictably orthodox, except when it came to their field of study. I started as a STEM major, and nothing there surprised me much because I'd already decided that evolution could have been part of God's plan somehow. But I was surprised to learn that a lot of my humanities professors had a hard time with a lot of biblical literalism, not just Genesis, because of how common a lot of elements of those stories are across cultures. My linguistics professor laughed at the idea of the Tower of Babel being literal. I even talked with a sociology professor who behind closed doors would criticize church teachings on LGBTQ issues. And one that was actually the one that was actually the most surprising to me was how often my religious professors, at least the ones who studied in ancient Greek or Hebrew, would often offer alternate interpretations or translations of scriptures that would contradict things I'd taught on my mission from books that are supposed to be directly approved by the Q15. That's the higher ups in the Mormon Church, the Quorum of the 12 and the First Presidency.
Yes.
After 4 semesters, I realized that if you were to make a sort of Frankenstein's BYU professor, they absolutely wouldn't be a Mormon, and honestly, they'd probably be an atheist. They would all say the church was right about everything except their one thing, but if all of them were right about that, then there really wasn't much left for the church to be right about. And while there were definitely a bunch of other factors that led to my deconversion, this realization was one of the things that sort of gave me permission to let go.
Amazing.
Literally, within a week of fully recognizing this, I'd sold my BYU housing contract, applied for a transfer to UVU, that's Utah Valley University, also in Provo, thrown away my garments and, quote, modest dresses, and was calling myself an atheist.
Wow.
That is a hell of a conversion there, Taylor. Well done.
That's
I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, isn't that it? If you piece together everybody's picking and choosing, like, I think that's a brilliant way of looking at it, because you know they all have their one thing that they know isn't right.
Yeah.
But they trust the rest of it. They just don't get together on that. I think that's
unbelievable.
Awesome.
That's
let's
fantastic.
do the voicemail.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, this is from a listener who has a question about funerals.
Hi, Frank and Dan. My name is Hannah. I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts are on, funerals for people who are atheists, because in the past 2 days I've had 2 different funerals, and both were for fairly religious folks. And I've never been to a atheist funeral. So, I guess if you guys have thoughts on how that's done, or if you've been to one, I would love to know that. Every funeral I've been to for my entire life has been a religious one. So, yeah, I know it's a depressing topic. I apologize, but it's just been on my mind. Thanks, guys. I love the show so much. Have a great day.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to get too obvious about this, but I'm pretty sure everyone just gets naked, covers themselves in pig's blood, and then writhes around on the floor.
That's what I have planned.
Isn't that it? Isn't that what
that's almost exactly.
Just screaming "Hail Satan" and furiously masturbating. I think that's
there you go.
That's basically it, isn't it?
No, I actually this made me think about a funeral that I attended not too long ago, for the father of a friend of mine, who I actually don't know if he was atheist, but he wasn't religious, right?
Well, he was your friend too.
Well, he was my friend too. But the thing I actually don't know, because we never really talked about it, was if he was atheist, right?
But he was very clearly not religious.
No, not at all. Right.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought that he'd found some sort of substitute for you know, the Mormonism that he grew up with and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I think they can feel very funerally, right? Think more like it's not in a church, it's at a funeral home, maybe, right? And there's just no prayers, and there's no religious songs, and there's no readings from anything, and there's no minister. You find somebody from the community, or in this case, his son, sort of ran the whole thing, right? Yeah. Which was really lovely and nice. And a family member, you know, sang a song. It was a show tune because he really loved theater,
right?
And it was lovely, and I don't know that I actually have attended a funeral for somebody who was sort of like atheists, like we are, right? Where it's like an identifiable part of their identity,
out and proud,
exactly,
all that sort of thing. Here's what I think. I think there are two sort of competing notions at play. There is the desire to participate in sort of cultural norms, just so that it's sort of recognizable as a funeral. So you don't doing it. A lot of people, I think most people would want their funeral, or want a funeral that they're a part of, to have some sort of connection to their culture, to how their society normally does funerals, which is generally, so they'll generally follow sort of religious norms, just without the religion. You know what I mean? That's a general thing. But for my money, and honestly for my funeral too, I love to think outside the box. You know what I mean? It is an opportunity to eschew the norms that are created by the Jesus lovers and you know the religious, and just come up with a communal way to grieve that is right for your people. So
because I mean that's what's critical, right? Is that the gathering together and having it be about that person and giving them a send off is really important. Yeah, it's an important part of the grieving process, I think, right? Especially if the person was close to you, getting together in some sort of community fashion, right? But I mean, for example, just how he had his tailored to him is there was champagne and past hors d'oeuvres for the first hour, right? And then there was kind of the people got up and, you know, everybody sat down and people got up and said nice things about him.
Right.
You know,
I feel like if you need to know a funeral's for the living. It's not for the dead person. It is for the living to cope with their loss. And so if you know the core group of people who are going to be mourning this person, and what would be awesome for them is a big bonfire where everybody sort of gathers around and, howls at the moon.
You throw the body on. And
wouldn't that be the thing? But, I'm saying, you and I, Frank, had a friend who passed away over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, there was a sort of traditional Mormon funeral for him, I think, back in Montana, but he lived here.
Huge Catholic funeral.
Catholic, that's what I meant. Catholic. Yeah. He was Catholic.
Yeah.
But what we had here was just a memorial service in a big theater because he was an actor.
Yep.
And everybody who wanted to could get up and say a few words, and that turned out not to always be a great choice, but for the most part, it was great. And
open mic at a funeral, not the best idea.
But it's fine, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be prepared to hear some stuff that, like, there's going to be that one or two people who don't have the sort of social skills that the rest of us have, or whatever. Anyway,
who don't censor for the family.
Right.
That was kind of
that was so know your audience. That's a key thing. But it's up to you. When my dad passed away, which is almost 10 years ago now, we had a funeral that was, he was a Mormon, but again, the funeral's for the living, and I'm not a Mormon, and it fell to me to plan the thing. And so I did have a fairly standard funeral for him, and then we had a party afterwards, and we had, Mexican food, and we just did things that reminded us of him.
Yeah.
And just, and that was important to me. Yeah. So, and we danced, and we ate, and we drank, and we enjoyed ourselves. So I think the joy of an atheist funeral, because they're such joyful events. But no, the grand thing is you get to make up your own rites and your own. If you want some sort of ceremony, figure it out.
Yeah, and I will say this: there's far more comfort in those events. Right, that are truly tailored to the person, right? Yeah. I think, than the generic, funeral in a chapel somewhere with a priest who didn't really know the person that well, saying nice things that somebody told them, right? And standard readings and blah, blah, blah. Like, those feel so impersonal. Yeah. And I know that for a lot of people, maybe that's what they need because of the tradition, and they are really religious. But like, I also, having attended some Mormon funerals, I know that the Mormons themselves are not terribly comforted by the funeral because they're the worst thing in the world.
Oh,
Mormon funerals suck beyond belief.
It's true. It's like just going to a Mormon church service where everybody's supposed to not cry because then they're acting as though the person didn't go to heaven or whatever. Anyway, so do that. Do your own thing. Figure yourself out. And if what you want and what the family wants is a standard boring service, do that. Do whatever comforts you. You know what I mean? Like when you're grieving. It's not. It may not be the right time for you to go for you to sit around and go, well, what's our thing? You know what I mean? So you might plan ahead. If you've got some time, sit with the person who's dying, and talk to them about it too. That's another thing. All right, Max from Mississippi wrote into us. You'll recall that we did a story about the Mississippi license plate and how the American Atheists and other organizations are suing to get an option that doesn't say "In God We Trust" for those who don't want that. Max writes, last week you discussed the lawsuit over the Mississippi license plates. In the past week, the governor has dismissed the case as a publicity stunt, excuse me, and has vowed to defend Mississippi values.
Oh, God.
My initial thought was, what are Mississippi values? Do atheists lack those values? In my head, I automatically recited a litany of things that my family does to help. We donate our time and money to food banks, animal shelters, public libraries, and our local schools. We do everything we can to help. Then I thought, is this strange? Is this something that other atheists do when they're othered by Christians? They never have to prove that they're somehow better than us. But ever since I left the church, I have found myself having to justify myself to Christians. I get tired of it, especially since it does no good. Is this something that other atheists find themselves doing? How do we get to a world where atheists no longer have to prove that we are not outsiders, especially in places like Mississippi and Utah, where we are thin on the ground?
Yeah.
I think that's a great question.
Boy.
And I think you're right that your justifications don't mean anything to them. Yeah. Like if you went to Governor Jerkhead and just said, look at all, here's my resume of things that I do for our community. Can you please not exclude me? That he's not going to care.
But his Mississippi values aren't about all the good that you can do out in the world, right?
No.
They're about Christian identity and excluding other people.
Yeah. If Jesus Christ
those
himself,
are Mississippi values.
If
Those are
Jesus
Utah
Christ
values.
himself lived in Mississippi but didn't identify as a Christian, I guarantee you this man would exclude him from Mississippi values.
Yeah.
Because that's not
Absolutely.
what he's talking about. He's just talking about being a Christian.
Yeah.
So nothing you can do can get them to honor your contributions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about you.
Yep.
Just be cool with yourself. You don't have to justify yourself to anybody. Be a good person and just be out there. And then, you'll have that one coworker who's like, man, that guy does so much good in the world, or that woman does so much cool shit in the world. And then when you tell them I'm an atheist, that one person has to sort of question their assumptions.
Yeah, their noodle just got baked. Right. They're just like, "Bleh,
And
does not compute."
and that's how this is going to work.
Yeah.
Is that for a while now, it's just going to be the slow and steady exposure to the fact that atheists are good people, and eventually that will have the sort of communal effect of breaking down these assumptions. But it takes, that's what it takes. It's just you be a good person and be an open atheist when and how you can, if it's safe to do so. Listen, we had some folks donate to us. We have some new donors. I'm going to start us off. Dan gave us a one-time donation over on PayPal and is now I now confer him the Aaronic priesthood. He is now a deacon, as is Christy, who's going to be a monthly donor on PayPal. So thank you two so much.
Thank you very much. And over on Patreon, we have a new deacon by the name of Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
And we have a new prophet, seer, and revelator
What?
by the name of Alan.
Alan.
So thank you to the two of you. And if you'd like to join them, you can do so. Just go to thankgodimatheist.com, click on the support tab. You can go over to PayPal if that's what you prefer, or join the campaign on Patreon and get yourself some priesthoods. And as always,
we're just dealing out the priesthood like it's going out of style, baby. Everybody's getting magic.
Get some priesthood. You get some priesthood.
And here's the thing: we are working toward a goal, everybody. And we've there's some setbacks recently, so we're gonna need to ramp it up to get to that goal. So I hope if you like our show, you will think about contributing, because we're entirely listener supported. That's the only way we get anything done around here. So that's just a nice way for you to show us that you like us.
And as always, we have our top donors to thank.
Yeah, we got our double deity.
Our co-lords and saviors, Austin and Demonium. Woo, woo, woo. Thanks, guys. More show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
So I came across a story this week about the Amish. And the fact that they're not getting vaccinated.
Oh, dear.
And I had this reaction that was basically like, oh no. Oh, well, the poor Amish, they need to protect themselves. What if they all get sick? What will we do? Right. And it's like, and I was like,
someone help that poor man?
What do I do? I need an Amish fireplace. What am I gonna do?
Who's gonna raise the barns?
And I immediately kind of stepped back and I was like, oh, that's not the right reaction. That's it's just like what they're like this cute thing that like that the rest of us get to like, oh, how precious, right?
Yeah.
the Amish live in their old timey ways, right?
They're literally a community of precious moment stalls.
And then it completely washes over, this attitude. And I think it's a predominant American culture thing, right? Where we all are just kind of like, oh shucks, the Amish, right?
They're quaint.
It's
a cute religion that we all see as sort of like as a tourist stop more than an actual group of religious believers.
Right. And that attitude completely washes over the actual like shitty lives that they
and we're not
force
when you
on
say
people.
When you say shitty lives, we're not talking about they don't have electricity. That's fine. You don't have to live with electricity, but it's like misogyny and like rampant
insular community.
No outsiders, which always leads to abuse, like widespread rampant abuse. Because the more eyes that are looking in, the more everybody, the more people there are to report stuff.
Right. Well, and there's that goddamn Rumspringa, right? I watched that documentary. I know what goes on. They all get addicted to meth, right? Yeah. And so they leave the house, this wonderful tradition, go see the world because we know you'll be back. And it is true. People go running back because like they're uneducated. They have no like real skills outside of like carpentry and barn raising. Yeah. And
they're encouraged to go and like do the most fucked up things the world has to offer.
Yeah.
Which shockingly fucks them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
anyway, I thought that would be maybe a little bit of a jumping off point about like these attitudes that we have and continue to sort of harbor in ways that isn't necessarily productive.
Yeah, because we can see very readily the danger, the problem with like mainstream Christianity, with evangelicalism, with Muslims, like Islam. We see these problems because they're very obvious. But then there are these little things that happen that we want to just think of as kind of fringy and funny, and we don't want to like. In the 70s and 80s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was Hare Krishna. Was this they were just sort of weirdos that would bother you a little bit in the airport, but they harmless. They're just trying to be
annoying.
Good people out there.
They were just annoying,
mildly annoying. They had the weird hair and whatever. And here's the thing, that's where. That space that we carve out for these people where it's like, oh, they're just harmless nut jobs and it's fine. That's where evil lives. Because in that space, I not for nothing, but what's his name? Charles Manson's group.
Oh yeah.
Was a hippie commune.
Yeah, that's true.
Abuse lives in these little groups, and Hare Krishna's, again, very misogynistic, very it wasn't harmless. It's never fucking harmless. It's it's the Nexium thing with a woman was just Allison Mack, the actor.
Oh yeah,
who was just sentenced to several years in prison. Wow. Because they were sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be like, that one started out theoretically as just like business leadership training. And then they went all culty, and then they went all real culty. It's like the whole concept of a harmless religion. And we've had people write into us and be like, lay off the pagans. They're harmless. Fuck that. You know what? Any religious group that you say they're harmless, I'm just going to start a counter. I'm just going to start a timer and be like, Okay, we'll see. Because it's coming. I don't know what it is. I don't know what brand of like harm is going to come, but it's in 3, 2, 1, and there's a rape problem.
Well,
and it's molestation.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's up for the challenge, or I mean, we're up for the challenge, right? Like if people are like, no, but there's this one. Yeah, tell us. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's there.
We'll tell you. It's no good.
Yeah, it's there's going to be a problem, and we're only starting to see, the phrase religious trauma syndrome is less than 10 years old. You know what I mean? Or around that. We're only starting to really acknowledge the damage that even just nice religions do to people.
Yeah.
We're only starting to understand it. So, everybody understands the damage that, someone who suffers a child molestation incurs. We all get that that's damaging. But the subtle shit, the stuff that's just like, what's the harm in a harmless belief? I may not know the answer to that, but I'm not going to just outright believe that it's harmless just because you say it is, because there is harm just inherent in believing something that isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's inherent harm just to that.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know if it still exists. I used to go to a website called What's the Harm, either .com or .org.
Mm-hmm.
And that looked at things like acupuncture or chiropractic or blah, blah, blah. And, things that are supposedly harmless. It's just, what could possibly be the harm in Ayurveda or whatever, or in homeopathy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, homeopathy is just sugar pills. In the end, there's like no active ingredient in almost all of the homeopathic pills that you buy.
Right. So it's not active harm. It's the harm of keeping you from real medicine.
It's literally shit like that. It's like, I could go to the doctor, but I just don't trust Western medicine. I'm going to go with this instead. Right. And then you get zero treatment. You weren't actually treated for your stuff.
Right.
And yeah, if you can't see the harm in that, then I don't know what to tell you. So there you go. I think, Christopher Hitchens wasn't wrong when he said religion poisons everything.
Well, that seems like an apt end to our 500th episode.
There you go. Yeah.
Right? Like
our 500th episode should end with us saying religion poisons everything. I like that. I think it's right. I feel like that's where we're gonna leave it. So, hey, if you guys have anything you'd like to say, you want to write congratulations for reaching 500 episodes or anything, love to
hear from you.
Anything else, if it's something that we have done over the past 500 episodes has meant anything to you, that'd be great if you wrote that into us. Anyway, the address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call us and tell us all of that.
Yeah, with your little voice.
The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button. That's a fine thing to do.
And if you'd like to join either of our members-only lounges, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com/members-only. And then there's links to go over to the Facebook one or to go over to the Discord one.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for 500 episodes of wonderful music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for
his music.
All of his music.
Yeah, which wasn't 500 episodes, but still great.
Yeah.
And thanks to all of you folks for tuning in. We love ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.